Good evening, Fernwood. It is your TV dinner eating buddy Neil here, and it's time for us to set out our TV trays for the next episode of Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. Today we are watching episode 132 from October 5th, 1976. It's the second episode of season 2, and we are in a whole new world. Mary seems like she has become a bit of a celebrity after having her nervous breakdown on the David Susskind show. She is currently under psychiatric care, and Mr. Ackerman, the person in charge of the psych ward where she is staying, seems to feel like that is a bit of an exciting prospect, that the money is going to be very good. She's getting presents from the outside world, and then we see Mary in the psych ward, believing that she is a plant, just sitting against the wall, pretty much not doing well. Mary gets some encouragement from another patient as well as Dr. Williams before we cut to a short scene with Tom, looking pretty well put together, trying to figure out where Mary is in general, as well as trying to figure out what happened to Charlie and Loretta. Then we see Charlie and Loretta in their own hospital room. Then we see Loretta looking for Charlie in his hospital room. Charlie got injured in the fracas with Merle Jeters. Apparently he got a gun butt to the face and has a very, very troubling injury in a very uncomfortable place. Then we cut to Mary Hartman in the psych ward. She has been coached to behave more normally just by watching television so that she has a chance to get out. Mary is now interested in getting out of the psych ward to see her family, so that's a good sign. As the episode closes, Mary notices a box on the television and is thrilled to her delight to find out that she is finally a member of a Nielsen family. That's the recap of yesterday's episode. I think we've got a lot more figuring out what the heck is going on to do. So let us begin episode 2 of season 2 of Mary Hartman. Let's go.
Mary Hartman! Mary Hartman!
Mary, you must meet Chester Markham. Oh, he's terribly well informed. He's the only man I know who reads 2 newspapers every day, plus Time and Newsweek every week. He's simply never satisfied unless he reads all the bad news a minimum of 4 times. Chester?
Yes, it's all in these magazines. Time, Newsweek, People, etc., etc., etc. Perhaps the only consistency in life today.
Chester, this is Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman, Chester Markham. Oh, Mrs. Hartman is a consumer expert. I'm sure the 2 of you have much to discuss.
Hi.
Can I sit down?
Thank you. Do you do your family shopping?
No. Do you read a lot?
Well, it depends.
Well, how many magazines do you read a month?
Well, it depends on the number of the days in the month.
I read a lot in any month. Like, at home, I subscribe to Newsweek, Time, Harper's, New York, the New West.
Sometimes I buy Time and sometimes I buy Newsweek. Depends on the cover. Like a few weeks ago, I bought, on the cover of Time, there was Jimmy Carter and Walter Mondale. And on the cover of Newsweek, there was Walter Mondale and Jimmy Carter.
Oh, well, so which one did you buy?
That week, I bought Time. I just felt like reading Walter Mondale on the left side of Jimmy Carter. Yeah. Lately, though, I haven't been buying any because of the glare.
The glare?
Oh yeah, well it's that glare. They did studies on this. I read this in Reader's Digest that they did studies that said that it's because of the background, the color in the background that makes the magazine sell a lot, depending on what color it is.
Really?
Yeah, and that gold sells the most because it stands out the most.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, for example, like you could have Jimmy Carter hugging Gerald Ford Or he could be kissing Gerald Ford on the cover of a magazine, say, with the blue background on it, and you could have someone half as important. I mean, say someone like Charo, you know, in another magazine, you know, on the cover with the gold background. And I tell you that the Charo magazine cover will probably sell twice as much as the cover with Jimmy Carter kissing Gerald Ford on it. Yeah, and that's probably an absolute fact.
Yeah, that is something you would think I'd know, but I don't read Reader's Digest.
Yeah, neither do I. Anymore.
Your life is in danger.
What?
Your life is in danger. Now, I don't want you to tell anybody this. You really have a terrific quality. This is a secret between us. Do you love your country, Mary?
Oh, yes, very much. Do you love yours? I mean, mine. You mean America, right?
America. That answers your question.
What question?
Well, it's a much bigger question, but the question is, does who you love explain what you are? And the answer is, it's not who you love, it's what you love.
I love my husband. He's American. And, we're separated, and he's overwhelmed with pressures, and he drinks all the time, you know, and so nobody's home with my daughter because I'm overwhelmed with pressures, and, does that mean I'm a bad mother, or is all this just natural?
Your question is very touching.
It is?
Look, I'm going to tell you a little secret about me. You can tell when I'm being sincere, because I puddle up.
You puddle up? What is that?
Well, it means you can always tell how much I mean what I'm saying by the amount of water in my eyes.
Oh, that's really interesting. You know, I may also be a puddler. I hate that word, though, but I know what you mean.
Do you want to cry together?
Well, I don't really want to, but, you know, I'll try if it's important to you.
I'm concerned about the breakdown of the nuclear family.
I think I'm concerned about that, too. Anything?
Nothing. During the last 20 years, the suicide rate among young people from 15 to 24 has gone up approximately 250%.
Listen, I don't think I can cry anymore.
You know why?
Why?
We're all cried out.
You know, it's funny, because, like, I feel sadder when I look in your eyes than when I hear your words.
Now I'm going to tell you something, Mary.
What?
The most intimate statistic.
Oh, intimate? Oh, I don't think I'm prepared for anything intimate.
No. Not that kind of intimate. But I am personally going to be responsible for changing the quality of life in America.
Really? What are you going to do?
It kills me, but I have to do it. By leveling.
You mean telling the truth?
No. By leveling, let's say, most of the state of Ohio.
Leveling. Oh, actual leveling. Why?
People will really appreciate me after this. I mean, all eyes will be turned on me for a very healthy reason.
I feel real funny right now. I think I'm puddling up. Do you mind if I cry now? Would that be all right?
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for understanding. Somehow I knew you would.
Oh, that's all right.
I came for my 4 o'clock appointment with Dr. Reese.
It's only 2 now.
It's all right, I'll wait.
Yes.
Kathy Smith, you said my results would be in today?
Mm-hmm. And how many cycles did you say you'd missed?
3, I think.
You think you don't know, huh?
Well, I actually didn't miss them.
I don't follow you, Mrs. Smith. You mean you've not yet missed a cycle, but you think you might be pregnant, right?
Well, you could say that I skipped them. I didn't actually miss them, ever since I stopped taking the pill.
Oh, when did you stop taking the pill, Mrs. Smith?
Well, you see, I read somewhere that it wasn't good to take them for too long.
And how long had you been taking them? You're only 20 years old.
4 years.
What's that?
4 years?
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm. And you stopped 3 months ago, right?
6. Do the results say that I'm pregnant?
No, they don't.
So I'm not.
Well, that's what I'm trying to determine. Are your breasts tender?
Huh?
Your test reads negative, but a negative report does not necessarily mean that you're not pregnant. A positive test would most likely be positive, but you can't really be positive when it's negative. That is, you could be positive, but it's not certain.
Well, what am I going to do? I mean, I have to know.
Well, I can always tell by just looking, and in my opinion, Mrs. Smith, I'd say you're about 3 months pregnant.
She's right. It's a boy.
Thanks.
Oh, no. Anybody could told you it was a boy. But I'm gonna tell you that he's gonna be a carpet salesman.
If you're looking for a bathroom, there's one right down the hall.
Well, honey, tell me what's left of me. Loretta, honey, there's more bad news on your face than a hog has bristles.
Oh, Charlie, I'm sorry. I came up from looking under them covers and I just seen you lying there all miserable and buckshotted up and everything. Kind of me grabbing that gun in that tickler way. Well, I just got hit by a mean old wave of the guilties. Oh, honey, are you hurting?
What's hurting, honey, is the suspense. Tell me if I've been shot any place where anybody would rather be shot any place else then.
Oh, Charlie, don't get unstrung. Now, I didn't see nothing.
You didn't see nothing?
Not that kind of nothing. I mean, I saw, bandages and tapes and all that kind of stuff.
Honey, tell me, where precisely were the bandages at?
Well, now, honey, that's just it. I mean, they come from here clear down to there, and I mean, it's just all wrapped up and everything in between there.
Oh.
Don't you move now, I'll get that. Hello, Charlie Hager's bedside speaking.
Yeah, Loretta? Wait a minute. Hold on, Bonnie. Wait a minute. You're going to get your chest and just relax, okay? Is that you, Loretta? It's Merle.
Well, of all the dadgum cotton, it's Merle.
Listen, I'm just calling to apologize for my part in this whole thing. Is your husband all right?
Yes, he is definitely all right, Merle Jeter. And you know something else he was completely all right about, that I should have never trusted you further than a turkey can fly. Yeah, well, let me tell you something. You better be praying for him, Merle Jeter. And let me tell you something else, hon. You better find somebody else to be praying for you, too, Toots. because you're going to need all the praying that anybody in this world can muster up in a lifetime.
I told you, Dad.
Son, I think I feel bad enough for my sin, and I don't think I need a sermon.
It wasn't just sin, it was violence. You know how I hate violence. Jesus said once...
We'll just let Jesus be the judge of that. I don't know what to say. All I can tell you is violence is the last thing I had in mind.
But what was the first?
You mean he had the dad-blame nerve to...
Charlie, listen to me. Don't you do yourself any more damage over that scheming, wicked heir of creation. It's just the poor little reverend child that needs feeling sorry for.
Hang the reverend child and his daddy both.
Charlie, huh? Now you know what the good book says. The sins of the father shall not be passed down unto the son, and vice versa. Although I don't think they spelled it directly out like that. But...
Honey, I'm not talking about sins. I'm talking about Jeters, father and son, and how they're both trouble, whether they're sinning or just sitting still.
Charlie, it wasn't your heart that was shot out, hon.
Well, whatever it is, I don't feel like forgiving and forgetting.
Well, I can see now how no mere human individual could forgive the icky sins of somebody like a Merle Jeter. But, hon, think of the poor, darling, precious, reverend, motherless child, you know, who the Lord has chosen as his own personal instrument. And, well, I guess the Lord's got his reasons in cases like this. But anyway, the point is, I got to go over there and give him what comfort I can, Charlie. But rest assured, hon, that I will do it without his daddy ever seeing this face again.
There's got to be a place where goodness stops and stupidness starts, Loretta.
Charlie, what has gotten into you?
Oh, I don't know, honey. Just a load of buckshot is all.
Oh, darling, look, everything's going to be just fine. It's going to be great. You're going to be up and at 'em and well just in time for our second honeymoon at the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville.
No.
Heather, open up the door, will you? It's your daddy. Honey, it's Tom, your dad. Honey, my arms are full, sweetheart. Open the door, will you? Heather? Heather, open the door.
You're sober.
Yeah, I know. Hey, wait a minute. What are you doing with that knife? Hey, put that down, will you?
Well, you could have been one of those happily married family types that goes into strangers' houses and smothers them with Glide wrap.
Oh, honey, come here, sweetheart. Mm-hmm. Hey, are you okay, huh? You here all by yourself? Mm-hmm. Well, nobody's looking after you, Martha or anybody, huh? Oh,
I couldn't get anything done in that madhouse, so I made him let me take care of myself. I can take care of myself good. Hey, you're wearing cologne.
Yeah, that's aftershave, you know. Hey, guess what?
What?
Your daddy may have gotten himself a job this afternoon.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it back at the plant, or is it an office? Maybe a promotion?
Well, no, it's not back at the plant. And, well, it's kind of a promotion. It's got something to do with cars.
A used car salesman.
It's even better than that.
New cars. Do you get a discount? Do I get a Volvo 117?
Hey, hold on a minute, will you? Hold on, back off, will you? You know, it's not that kind of a job, and it's not cars. And look, I'm not even going to tell you what it is, because that's bad luck, okay?
Did you tell Mom yet? Or did they have her locked up in some padded cell?
No, they wouldn't let me see her over at that hospital. But, honey, everything's going to be fine. She's going to be okay. Your mother just needs a little time to, you know, just... Hey. Anyway, I'm home. I'm going to take care of things, okay?
Okay. But you haven't even looked at me yet.
What?
Don't you notice anything?
Your hair.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Makes me look older. You know, I told Robbie Netzer that I was 15 today, and he actually believed me. Like it?
Yeah, it's a knockout, sweetheart.
Thanks. Oh, Dad.
What, baby?
You want me to make you some ravioli? I found Mom had a whole carton of it under the sink for in case of emergencies.
It's not easy running an institution. The cost of insanity has gone up along with everything else. That's why I'm counting on Mary Hartman.
I know what you have in mind, Ackerman. You're planning to use Mary Hartman to get yourself off the hook with Medicare.
Are you insinuating that... That's impossible. You believe those accusations that I've been padding our Medicare bills?
I would never put a little thing like fraud past you.
Fernwood Psychiatric is one of the most honest institutions in this country.
It used to be.
I tell you, it's election year. They will stop at nothing to clean up, even if they have to make the mess to clean up. Whoever told them about that mayonnaise? Well, see, they are alleging that I...
What mayonnaise?
Mr. Ackerman made a deal with Mr. Bada, the mayonnaise distributor, to bill us for 3,000 cases of Hellman's imitation mayonnaise, present the bill to Medicare under food supplies, and get a kickback. 1 lump or 2.
Mayonnaise? What?
You think I used that money for myself? We needed it for redecorating. Medicare doesn't understand the psychological importance of redecorating.
Particularly when you send in the top interior designer from New York.
You'd have flown one in from Kansas. 1 lump, please.
3,000 cases of Hellman's imitation mayonnaise?
Mr. Ackerman, it's your wife.
I can't speak to her. We're in litigation.
You actually committed fraud with Medicare money.
Now let's get real. We need staff, equipment, money. We need Mary Hartman.
A lovely woman.
Yes, and a person of great worth. Do you realize that we've received over 500 letters a day since she's been here? People care about her, Williams. And not just people. Foundations, government agencies. Mary Hartman has massive appeal.
Her condition has been improving so rapidly, it would be criminal not to let her go.
What are you saying? It would be criminal to release her. She's consistently inconsistent.
She's a cyclothymic personality. She always has been, she always will be.
Don't talk technical with me.
That just means that her highs are very high and her lows are very low, and she moves very quickly between the highs and the lows. However, she's obviously very upset. She's had a traumatic experience. She's in a negative frame of mind. It's only natural given what she's been through. However, she needs only as much time as she needs and not as much time as you need.
Well, I'm sorry, but I don't agree with you there.
Are you saying that Mary Hartman is going to be another case like those 3,000 cases of mayonnaise?
Is Dr. Robert Williams to be called up for review?
Is Mr. Andrew Ackerman looking for a lawsuit?
Is Fernwood psychiatrist to be replaced by 2 cheaper psychologists?
I don't believe what's going on in this hospital. I mean, you would take a patient like Mary Hartman, who's a victim to begin with. Mrs. Hartman.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Please go on. I'm sorry. I was supposed to report for counseling, and I just must have wandered into group therapy by mistake. I'm so sorry I interrupted. I'm just so sorry. I'm really sorry. We'll never do this again. I'm really awfully sorry.
And thus begins our slow creep back to the real world. You know, in that first scene, and I don't remember the patient's name, but Mary seems to be relating to him. There's a sort of positive aspect of her being in the psych ward, and that is she gets time to rest. We could talk a lot about mental health, but I think the reality of her situation finally hit her in a subtle way, because she was not crying about facts of the world like the suicide rate or the other piece of news that the patient brought up. But I think what it was when she realized that she was in a place with a person who was incredibly delusional, and maybe thinking of herself in that light was something that made her cry, or made her want to cry, because, the welling, right? I'm starting to well. Then Kathy at the hospital desk getting a pregnancy test. I don't know when home pregnancy tests became available. I mean, as far as I remember as a child, in the 50s they talked about the rabbit test. And I don't really know why you need to kill a rabbit to find out if a woman is pregnant, but I'm glad they don't use that anymore. But in this case, I guess you still had to go to a doctor to get tested. And of course, the nurse and the older woman there both confirm that she is pregnant by about 3 months. And maybe a question would be, who's the daddy? That isn't addressed in the show, but it's certainly a question. She was seeing Clete Meisenheimer, and she went off with Father DeMarco at the end of last season. Steve was way too early. So that's definitely not the case. So I guess it's a question, who she may have slept with, and that's a bit unclear. But she went off the pill, so I would assume that it's Father DeMarco. And who knows what's going on there. It appears that they are not together at the moment, or at least in the scene, we don't see that. Loretta and Charlie not quite being eye to eye about how to deal with the Jeters, because Merle Jeter, they both acknowledge is evil, but Jimmy Joe is someone that Loretta feels the need to care for. And there is a part of Loretta that wanted to be a mother, that was excited to be a mother for Charlie's child when that was a thought before the fibroid tumor. But now she just sees a child that does need care, or at least in her estimation. I don't know about the ethics of it. I feel like maybe you should leave the Jeters alone, Loretta. Then at the Hartman residence, and I am so glad that that set was not destroyed as Mary left and it was flooding in the basement and construction going on outside. And Heather coming to the door with a knife. And I've been at my door with a knife as a kid, so I get that. Maybe don't ask me about that. But Tom coming in, and Heather recognizes that he is sober. He's got a new job that is a surprise for us. We don't know what that's going to be. We get right into it with Mr. Ackerman and Dr. Williams and the nurse, who is more injured than last time. I don't know if there's some kind of behind the scenes story that will be revealed, or if it's just to show exactly how rough the psych ward is, that she has got a neck brace in the first episode and then a neck brace and a sling in the second episode. But that's a question for me. I wonder what it is implying. But then we see the ethical situation, and Dr. Williams is pushing for Mary to be let go, and Dr. Ackerman, or Mr. Ackerman, is really wanting to take advantage of having a celebrity under his care. And typically when celebrities get kind of mental health care, they are paying for stuff themselves. But in this case, Mr. Ackerman thinks that just that she is there and somewhat of a celebrity is going to help. And I am going on a tangent. This is not about the show, but I've got to say that the mental health care system in the decades since this period, they've been gutted. And all I can say is that there isn't a place now like where Mary goes, I mean, there are, I suppose, rest homes or places that you can pay for, but we need stuff like that on the public level for people who do not have the money to pay for exorbitant fees to work out their mental health concerns. People who are dealing with enormous issues that just don't have the money, and they end up being in the streets, and they end up being victims of crime, etc. It's or victims of their own mental situation. I guess I'm gonna just advocate for putting more money into the mental health system, because really everywhere is struggling and that money needs to go somewhere. So if I'm going to advocate for something, it's for putting money into mental health. I mean, we also need to put money in schools, but that's another tangent off of a tangent off of a tangent. But Mary Hartman comes into that meeting and she is really more embarrassed than anything else. And I don't know exactly what she picked up about what was happening in that meeting. It is not clear. I mean, she is very embarrassed. Maybe it's because they were talking about her, but it is real unclear. And a thought that I had during that scene is that perhaps the nurse had a neck brace on so that it would be more difficult for her to use her peripheral vision to catch someone coming into the room. It's just a little bit odd that no one noticed Mary so visibly there. And that's Dr. Williams had an eye on her. I mean, Mr. Ackerman was back turned to her, so there's no reason that he should have seen, but maybe the nurse or maybe Dr. Williams could have seen her. It was just odd. But in any case, Mary leaves that embarrassed and it's a little bit unclear why she was embarrassed. I'm very curious to see that unpack. So we have a few different pieces of our world coming back together. It really did feel like, yesterday's episode was set in the hospital or in the psych ward, and we didn't get to see home or other buildings. And now we finally get to see that the Hartman residence is more or less together, and we saw a space where Jimmy, Joe, and Merle were, which was a new space that I don't recognize, but I don't know what that space is, so I'm curious. Anyway, we've got a lot more world to be building, and I'm excited to see it get built. Thank you so much for putting out your TV tray with me. And as always, I appreciate your comments, thoughts about the show, and all of that stuff. Thank you again, and we will see you tomorrow night in Fernwood.